I was a farm boy from Nebraska when I enlisted. 19 years old, barely shaved twice a week. My ma cried when I signed up in the spring of 17, but Pa shook my hand, said I was doing my duty, said I'd make them proud. They gave us a little writing kit when we shipped out, some paper, envelopes, a pencil. "Write home, boys," the sergeant said. "Let them know you're thinking of them." Simple enough, right? Just write a letter. Tell your folks you're doing fine. I wrote my first letter on the ship across the Atlantic. Told them about the ocean, about the other boys in my unit. Tommy Brennan from Boston, who could make anyone laugh. Eddie Kowalski from Chicago, who was always showing us pictures of his sweetheart. Good men. Brothers, really. That first letter was easy. I was still excited, still thought this would be an adventure. I didn't know yet what I'd see, what I'd do, what I'd become. I didn't know that every letter after that would be a lie. We reached France in August of 17. Trained some more, then they sent us up to the lines that fall. Chateau Thierry sector, they called it. Sounded romantic, didn't it? Like something from a storybook. The first time I saw a dead man, really saw one, not just a body bag being carried past. I threw up in a ditch. He'd been there a while. The rats had been at him. I won't describe it more than that. That night, I tried to write home. "Dear Ma and Pa, we made it to the front today. It's not so bad. The French countryside is real pretty. The food could be better, but we're managing. Don't worry about me, your loving son, James." My hand shook the whole time I wrote it. Every word was a lie except my name. The countryside? It was a wasteland. Shelled trees that looked like broken fingers reaching for a sky they'd never touch again. Mud everywhere, so deep you could lose a man in it. Did lose men in it. The food? We ate whatever we could get. Hardtack that could break your teeth. Bully beef from cans. Sometimes nothing at all. Don't worry. I was terrified every second of every day. But what was I supposed to write? "Dear Ma, I saw a man's face blown off today. I can't sleep because the guns never stop. I'm so scared I can barely hold my rifle steady. You think I could send that home? You think my mother needed to know that her boy was living in hell?" So I lied. We all did. Tommy wrote to his mother about the beautiful French churches. We were bivouacked in the ruins of one. Half the roof was gone from shelling. Eddie wrote to his girl about how he couldn't wait to take her dancing when he got home. I'd watched him weep in his sleep the night before, calling for his mother. Every letter was a performance, a costume we put on to protect the people we loved from the truth of what we'd become. Spring of 1918, we got into it properly. Belleau Wood. The Germans were pushing hard, and we were thrown in to stop them. I won't detail all of it. The fighting lasted weeks. We attacked through wheat fields that turned red, through woods that got blasted to splinters. We fought with rifles and bayonets, and sometimes just our hands. Tommy Brennan died on June 6th. Machine gun got him in the chest. He was still alive when I reached him, trying to say something. Blood bubbling up with every word. I held his hand until it went cold. That night, I wrote home. "Dear Ma and Pa, we're keeping busy here in France. Had some excitement lately, but nothing to worry about. I'm healthy and in good spirits. We had a nice beef stew for dinner tonight. The weather's been fine. How are the crops looking? Your loving son, James." I don't even remember what we ate that day. Probably nothing. Maybe some hard bread someone had saved. The beef stew was for them, so they could picture their boy sitting down to a hot meal, safe and fed, not crouching in a dugout, covered in the blood of my best friend, shaking so hard I could barely hold the pencil. Eddie took a shell fragment 2 weeks later, tore his leg open. They carried him off, and I never saw him again. Heard later he died in a field hospital. Sepsis, they said. The infection got him before they could stop it. I wrote to my parents, "The fellows here are all fine. We look out for each other. You'd like them, Ma. They're good boys, the kind you raised me to be friends with." The fellows were dying. All of them, one by one. And I was lying because the truth would destroy the people reading my letters. There's a special kind of loneliness in that. Being surrounded by men who are suffering the same as you, but when you put pencil to paper, you have to pretend it's all grand. You have to protect your family from yourself, from what you've seen, from what you've done. I killed men at Belleau Wood, shot them, stabbed them. I don't know how many. You stop counting after a while. You stop seeing them as people, because if you do, you'll go mad. But I couldn't write that. So instead, we're doing our part here, making America proud. I think about home every day. The distance between what I wrote and what I lived got wider every day, until I didn't know which version of me was real anymore. The boy in the letters who was fine, who was brave, who was coming home the same as he left. Or the thing in the trenches who'd learned to kill without feeling, to see death without flinching. Summer and fall of 18, we pushed forward. Soissons, Saint-Mihiel, Meuse-Argonne. The names blur together now, just different patches of mud where men died. I kept writing, every week, sometimes twice a week. The letters got shorter, harder to write. I'd sit there with the blank paper, trying to think of something to say that wouldn't be a lie. There was nothing. Dear Ma and Pa, I hope this finds you well. We're staying busy. The boys all send their regards. What boys? Most of them were dead or broken. The regiment had been refilled 3 times over with replacements who didn't even know the names of the men who'd carried the same rifles before them. I got letters back, of course. Ma wrote about the church socials, about the Henderson boy down the road getting engaged, about how the apple trees were producing well that year. Pa wrote about buying a new tractor, about hoping I'd be home for harvest next year. They were so normal, so innocent. They lived in a world where the biggest problem was whether rain would come in time for the corn, where death meant old Mrs. Peterson passing peacefully in her sleep. I lived in a world where boys younger than me drowned in their own blood in shell craters, where the rats got so fat on corpses they'd walk right past you like they owned the place, where the smell of death was so constant you stopped noticing it. And how do you bridge that gap? How do you write to someone in one world when you're trapped in another? You don't. You just lie. And the lies become routine, automatic. You write them the same way you clean your rifle or dig your foxhole. Just another task to survive. Everything's fine here. Don't worry about me. I'll be home soon. We said soon in every letter. Soon. As if saying it enough times would make it true. As if hope was something you could create with words on paper instead of watching it die in the mud like everything else. November 1918. We were pushing through the Argonne forest when word came down that the Kaiser was negotiating, that the war might end. We didn't believe it at first. Couldn't. The war ending? It seemed impossible. The war was everything. We couldn't remember anything else. Then on November 11th, at 11 in the morning, the guns stopped. Just stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. After months of constant shell fire, the quiet felt wrong, unnatural, like the world had died. We were supposed to be happy, celebrating. We'd won, they told us. It was over. I sat down that night to write home, and for the first time in months I could have told the truth. It's over, Ma. The war's done. I'm coming home. But I couldn't write it. My hands were shaking too hard. I kept seeing their faces. Tommy, Eddie, all the others. Boys who'd never get to write another letter, who'd never tell their families it was over. What right did I have to go home, to be alive when they weren't? I finally wrote something, can't remember what. Probably more lies. Probably said I was fine, that I'd be home soon, that everything was all right. None of it was all right. Nothing would ever be all right again. That's when I understood. The letters weren't protecting my family. They were protecting me. If I wrote the truth, if I admitted what I'd seen, what I'd done, what I'd become, then I'd have to face it myself. The lies weren't mercy, they were cowardice, but I kept writing them anyway. What else could I do? I came home in February of 1919. Took a ship back, same as I'd gone. Different boy making the journey, though. Or maybe not a boy at all anymore. Ma and Pa met me at the station. Ma cried and held me. Said I looked thin. Said she'd make all my favorites. Pa shook my hand again. Said he was proud. Said I'd done my duty. They'd kept all my letters. Ma showed me she had them tied up with a ribbon in a box. We read them every night, she said. They kept us going, knowing you were all right. I looked at that box and felt sick. All those lies, tied up with a ribbon like they meant something. I tried to settle back in, worked the farm, went to church, did all the things I used to do. But it was like watching someone else live my life. The real me was still over there, in the mud, still writing lies by candlelight while the guns thundered. People would ask about France, about the war. They wanted stories, exciting ones, brave ones. They'd already heard the sanitized version from my letters. They wanted more of the same. I couldn't give it to them. So I said very little. Got a reputation for being quiet, sullen even. Ma worried. You used to be so cheerful, she'd say. So full of life. That boy was dead, died somewhere in France with all the others. But I couldn't tell her that because I'd spent so long convincing her he was fine. That's the real cost of the lies we wrote. We couldn't come back and admit the truth without making liars of ourselves, without destroying the hope we'd worked so hard to maintain. The letters were supposed to be a connection to home, a way to stay human while living through hell. Instead, they became a wall between who we were and who we pretended to be. Sometimes I think about burning them, Ma's box of letters, destroying the lies. But what good would that do? The damage is done. The boy who wrote those letters is gone. The family who read them can't unknow what they believed. We wrote home from France. We told them we were fine. We told them not to worry. We told them we'd come back the same. Every word was a lie. But maybe the biggest lie was pretending we had a choice. You can't write the truth when the truth would destroy everyone who reads it. You can't admit you're broken when breaking them won't fix you. So we lied. In every letter, every word. And we kept lying after we came home because the truth was a casualty of war, just like everything else. The letters are still there, tied with a ribbon. My mother's treasure, my burden, a record of all the ways we never came back.